Hello Yugioh fans, Madarant here, and welcome to a discussion video on Thousand Restrict. Thousand Restrict just came off our ban list, is now limited, and I'm sure a lot of you are wondering which decks can we play this in, meta and non-meta. This card has synergy with quite a few decks that we currently have in the TCG, and are getting in the TCG later on this year. It will definitely be a meta card, definitely even more so when Monarchs get hit on the ban list, which will probably be around, I would say July, August will probably be the next ban list. So when that comes around, Thousand Restrict will be more viable. The only issue with it being right now, no extra deck Monarchs are a thing. And then there is also Cosmo, since the effect to equip a monster does target, so you can't really get around Dark Destroyers and stuff like this with Thousand Restrict. However, you could force out plays such as Cosmo Fangirl to tag into something by trying to absorb it, and then get rid of them with System Down. So Thousand Restrict can be used as bait out technique. So its effects are: other monsters cannot change their battle position or attack, which includes your own, so you have to have a way to get rid of this. Also, when you equip one, you can equip one monster your opponent controls with a maximum of 1. Its attack and defense become that monster's attack and defense, but it won't be able to attack since it's summoned through instant fusion, so it'll be only used as spot removal. When it would be destroyed by battle, it can destroy the equipped card instead. And that's really not going to work on that turn either. So mainly you're using it for the spot removal. However, there is another way to use this card, and that is with Call of the Haunted and Oasis of Dragon Souls. When you instant fusion, you actually fusion summon. So that means it can be reborn from the graveyard and can be used as an out to OTKs. Say your opponent is attacking with a massive board like Cosmo with Fangirl coming on the board. You can play Call of the Haunted, reborn your Thousand Restrict. That stops them attacking. They would bait out something like Slip Rider or Dark Destroyer to come on the board, and then they won't be able to use their Fangirl's searchability, which can be protective and could save you a turn. So Thousand Restrict can stop with that. But if they needed that Fangirl to go off, that would 100% stop them, and then you can get rid of it later on. The best way to get rid of it, in a generic sense, would be Dark Hole, as Thousand Restrict could absorb something like Titanic Galaxy, if they have been naive enough not to negate the instant fusion, and then you could Dark Hole the whole board without worrying this would get negated, or it could force out a negation. It can also be used against monsters that need to be XYZ summoned to gain their other effects, like a Break Sword, because I believe when it's equipped, I think it loses its status as being XYZ summoned, and therefore when it's destroyed, I don't believe it gets its effect. I am not 100% sure on this, so you'd have to check with a judge from that if you were going to use it for that purpose, but it just seems like the wording would work that way. The other generic way of using this and abusing this would be through Mass Change II. Mass Change II is being used by a few decks at the moment, and you can easily turn your Thousand Restrict after it's done spot removal into a Dark Claw, and your opponent is more or less screwed because Dark Claw is very powerful against most meta decks. So there's a lot of generic ways of using this card, but what meta decks could use this? The first and the most synergetic would be Phantom Knights, since they can run instant fusion and bring forth Dragoness the Wicked Knight, the best level 3 monster to fusion summon, which is because it's wind attribute and it can be used for a totem bird summon through the Speedor engine. So there is synergy there. It gets an instant level 3, but when you need it, you can instant fusion into Thousand Restrict and spot removal. Then you can XYZ summon this Break Sword and destroy your Thousand Restrict and one card your opponent controls. So that's 2 removals from technically 1 card, which can be very, very powerful. Not to mention that Phantom Knights can also run Mass Change II and bring out Dark Claw. So another way of bringing that out in a meta deck. Second of these is Cosmo. This one's a bit far reaching because You have to go a tiny bit -1 to gain Thousand Eye Restrict as removal, but it can be useful against your opponent trying to wall up. So the first is through Dark Destroyer, destroying Thousand Eye Restrict on a summon. The second would be Tin Can overlaying with the Thousand Eye Restrict to bring forth a Dullahan. This can be dangerous as you'll be able to weaken your opponent's monster, and if it was under 3000, Phantom Killer can run it over and you can start going for your OTK, which can be very, very viable. And it also runs Dark Hole, so again, you can get rid of it and stop your OTKs. It will be destroyed during the end phase anyway, so it could be just used as a minor spot removal if you've got nothing else and you need to get rid of that card. The next meta deck, but not at the moment I can run this, is Monarchs. Not the non-extra deck Monarchs, I'm talking Brilliant Monarchs. This will be probably the most viable extra deck based Monarchs of the format, because Brilliant Fusion is easy to use in the deck because you can send a Lazuli and a Metaphys Armed Dragon to the graveyard, 2 summon Seraphonite, you get 2 summons, and you've added Metaphys Armed Dragon to your hand. Metaphys Armed Dragon has the same attack and defense as Monarchs, so it can be used for tenacity and sets up your engine very efficiently. You can also use it with like Jax Knight or Cypherium Driver to gain an additional level 5 monster. Jax Knight very much synergetic because you can use Jax Knight and the Prime Monarch to bring out Pallades. So there's a lot of things you could do. The second base move with Monarchs though, the main base move with Monarchs though with Thousand Eye Restrict is to summon Karaz. And that means you can just destroy your Thousand Eye Restrict and draw a card off it. Or Thousand Eye Restrict can be used as a tribute base to summon something like Karaz or a level modulated Mega Monarch, which can be very dangerous for your opponents. Now onto the pseudo meta and, well, more or less pseudo meta decks at the moment. The first of these is Blue Eyes. Blue Eyes can use this in the form of overlaying and synchro summoning. They can bring out Formula Synchron since more or less all the level 1s are tuners, and that's an extra draw from the spot removal card. That could be quite nice. Sage Knight is the most used level 1 in the Blue Eyes deck and will definitely help you there. You can also bring forth something like your Dullahan or Sylvan Princess Sprite in the future when we get into TCG, and that will also get you technically a draw or a mill depending on what is your top card in your deck. Next is Fluffles. You're probably thinking Fluffles, they're OTK based. Well, how will this work? Fluffles can easily use this because they main deck Instant Fusion, because this summons out Frightful Sheep, Fusion Bait with a Fusion Summon, and you can reborn with Saber Tiger. So you would still usually be running Thousand Eye Restrict. Why not Thousand Eye Restrict, Instant Fusion? So why not taking a Thousand Eye Restrict? It does stop your attacks, which you can get around this with something like Frightful Tiger, which can destroy Thousand Eye Restrict and other multiple cards at the same time. And then there's a new card that is coming out in the OCG just now, and that is Frightful Sanctuary. It's a very subpar card to be fair, but if you want to tech this into the deck, you can turn your Thousand Eye Restrict into a Frightful monster, and then fusion summon with it to bring out Saber Tiger. So it can be used as a fusion base, and that is one of the better ways of actually abusing Thousand Eye Restrict, except from Darklaw. And then there's Infernoid. Infernoid can easily tribute away Thousand Eye Restrict to banish one card from your opponent's graveyard, but it can also be used as a synchro base for Infernoid Decatron, since it is a tuner that can level modulate. You can send something like Sightsumus and bring out a Gigant Castle. Probably not that option though. Send a Tondel to the graveyard, make it level 9, sync with Thousand Eye Restrict, make a Leo. That's pretty good against Burning Abyss. That could be decent, that could be game winning even. So you've got spot removal and an untargetable monster from one card. That can be very, very good. And now for the non-meta decks at the moment. And these are Yang Zing, because they main deck Dark Hole, and they are synchro based. Any synchro deck can technically abuse Thousand Eye Restrict because it can be used for synchro summoning. It's simple as that. Then we have DDD. DD can easily work with this card since they have the ability to have tune with it, bring out form of Synchron or Southern Princess Sprite, because they have their own global in the form of DD Lamia. And there's a few level 1s in that deck, like Kepler. The next and the most synergetic of all decks here is Metamorphosis. Metamorphosis main deck into fusion because it instantly brings forth Metamorphosis Adamante, which is a level 5 beat stick essentially. But you could also fusion summon Phasma Restrict. I will be playing this in my Metamorphosis deck in the upcoming weeks, so look out for those. But Metamorphosis also have the ability to destroy one other face of card on the field and add set of Metamorphosis card from your deck. So you could instant fusion summon Phasma Restrict, absorb a monster your opponent controls, then destroy it through, like, say, Volflame, and set Metamorphosis Fusion, set up your possible OTK stance or a possible beatdown, depending on your situation, or even just a combination to start searching. Then there is something that hyped a bit ago, which was Necrons. They can easily use this as you can just ritual summon with like Valkyrus and a Phasma Restrict, you bring out Trishula. Boom! Or you can use Clausulus and Catasta plus Phasma Restrict. Boom, Trishula. There's a lot of things you could do, but Trishula is the most usable, most known example of Necrons, to be honest. Then we have Shaddoll. They can fuse with Winder to bring out Phasma Restrict, and since they are more got lower dance to 2, the deck is technically more viable in this format than it has been for a while since Construct's ban. So the deck can start to re-speed up, turn more control based, and Phasma Restrict will help with this, and then Fusion Summon and Winder. Very good. Although when it's sent to the graveyard, it will be destroying the equipped monster, so bear that in mind. If you're absorbing like Slip Rider or a Dogfighter, that will set off their effects. If you're absorbing a Fire King, that will also set off their effects, which can be annoying, but it's an issue. And finally, if you really want to be majorly techy, you can put in Magic Spectres. This is because you've got there's a possibility you could put in DNA Transplant as a tech. You can turn everything Wind attribute. Therefore, you could use Phasma Restrict as a way of unbricking. Say you have one scale in hand and a Majesty's Pegasus, but you have no real gain from that. You don't want to waste your scale. So you can use Majesty's Pegasus while DNA Transplants on the field, and tribute the Phasma Restrict, summon a Bumbuku. Bumbuku searches out your other scale, and then you've got scales essentially, so that could help very well. Or you can just non-summon and do other things, depending on what your stance is at the time. So Phasma Restrict can be used quite by a lot of decks, and I will definitely be taking it in a lot of my decks myself. I will definitely be putting in Phantom Knights, although extra deck space in that deck is very tight, which is annoying for me because I thought Dante was going to go to 1, and if Dante had gone to 1, this would definitely be run by more or less every Phantom Knight player. But unfortunately that is slot free, so there's a lot of space that is not there. Cosmo is more techy and Molex is techy. The only deck I can really say that can't really run this would be Draco Pals, because they don't really have a way of removing monsters. The only way you could really use this card was with like Ignista Prominent, same for some of Ignista Prominent with like something Eccentric Archfiend or a Bumbuku if you're playing Magic Spectre Draco Pals. And yeah, so Draco Pals really can't use this deck. Atlantean Mermaid can use it, but they'd have to run Dark Halls or a Mass Change in order to gain something from that. And Mass Change can be definitely viable because you've got options for Acid already. Why not add a Dark Law? So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like, subscribe if you enjoyed this and want to see further content. If you've got any suggestions that you thought I missed out about Phasma Restrict, please let me know in the comments below. Will you be using this card? I would like to know. And yeah, if you want any of my decks that I've done already to be updated for the April 2016 format, please also let me know in the comments below, because I will update them to the point where they're viable, at least in a pseudo-consistent way. Upstart Goblin to 1 and Chicken Game to banned is really annoying for consistency. But yeah, I will endeavour to do those. So thank you very much for watching. Madaran signing out.